A sequence is a list of numbers that go in a specific order, and inside that list, each number has a relationship to the number going right before it and the number right after it. So if I were to write the list 4, 8, 12, 16, you could see that as I move down my list, I'm simply adding 4 to each number. And in a sequence, you can label each number as to the order it appears in the list. For example, my first number, which is 4, I could label that as number 1. And then 8 is in the number 2 position, and 12 is in the number 3 position, and so on. In a sequence, the position of the number is written as a subscript in some variable. So my 4, I could label that as x subscript 1, and my 8, I could label that as x subscript 2 because it's in the second position, and so on. And then when I try to describe the relationship between my numbers in the list, I can use variables for my subscripts. So in this sequence here, I could start off by saying x subscript 1, that's equal to 4. Or I could say x subscript some number labeled as n, that's going to be equal to 4 times n. And what that would mean is that you could take any position in my list, say the 4th position, which problems will frequently describe as the nth position, as in 4th, 5th, 6th. So if I want to find out the 4th position, I'm simply going to take a 4 and plug that in for n. So x subscript 4, or the 4th number in my list, is going to be equal to 4 times 4, or 16, which it was. I could also describe each number as it relates to the previous number in my list. So I could say any number in my list, that's x to the n, is going to be equal to the x to the n minus 1 plus 4. So say if I wanted to find the 3rd number in my list, I would say x subscript 3, that's going to be equal to x subscript 3 minus 1, and 3 minus 1 is just 2, so what that really is saying is the one number previous to it, or in this case, x subscript 2 plus 4. Or I could say that x subscript 3 is equal to x subscript 2, which I know is 2, and then to find 3, I'm simply going to add 4. So in review, if I have x subscript n, that n is referring to a number such as 1, 2, or 3, etc., which represents the position such as the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd position in the list. If I write x subscript n minus 1, the n minus 1 just means one number previous in the list to the nth position. Likewise, x with the subscript n minus 2 would mean some number 2 previous to the nth position, and x subscript n plus 1 would mean a number 1 after the nth position. Here's a fairly straightforward sequence setup, where each number in the list is equal to 2 times its position minus 1. So if the problem asks me to find the 4th number in the list, they're really asking me to find the number for s subscript 4, or what is the number when k is equal to 4. And for that, I just plug in 4 into my equation here. So s subscript 4 is going to be equal to 2 times 4 minus 1, or 7. In this sequence, we start to see the k minus 1 and k minus 2 subscripts. Remember, k minus 1 simply means one number previous to the kth number in the list, and k minus 2 means 2 previous numbers. So if the question asked me to find the 3rd number in the list, I could say the 3rd number in the list is equal to the 2nd number in the list times the 1st number in the list. Likewise, the 4th number in the list would simply be equal to the 3rd number in the list times the 2nd number in the list. They start off by telling us the 1st number in the list and the 2nd number, So we could just use normal algebraic substitution. So the third number in the list is going to be equal to the second number, which is 4, times the first, which is 1. So the third number in the list is just 4. Then to find the fourth number in the list, that's going to be equal to my third number, which I just found out was 4. So S subscript 4 is equal to my third number, which is 4, times my second number, which is also 4. So my fourth number is 16. This problem seems more complicated, but we're still going to be using the exact same steps we did in our previous examples. The question is asking for the difference between the sixth and the fifth terms in the sequence. So they're really asking us for S sub 6 minus S sub 5. The problem gives us the first 3 terms and then the relationship between all of the terms. We're definitely going to have to figure out what the sixth and fifth terms are. But before we do that, we have to first figure out what the fourth term is. And according to the equation, the fourth term will be equal to 4 plus 2 to the 4 minus 1, which I could rewrite as 4 plus 2 cubed, which is the same thing as 4 plus 8, or 12. Now that I know the fourth term, I can figure out the fifth term using the exact same equation. So my fifth term is going to be equal to 5 plus 2 to the 5 minus 1, or just 2 to the fourth, or 5 plus 16, or just 21. And then I do the same process for my sixth term. So S sub 6 is going to be equal to 6 plus 2 to the fifth, which is equal to 6 plus 32, which is equal to 38. And finally, I go back to my original question, which is my sixth term minus my fifth term, or 38 minus 21. So my final answer is simply 17.